The people in the post office who write the address for them, they used to pay 1 anna and 4 anna. He was sleeping from morning till evening and he got up at 4 so that he can save some money. If you don't pay the amount or if you don't pay the bill, I'm going to gouge your eyes out. You can see the man who has entered, that is a stranger who enters into the restaurant. A stranger who came, he paid 11 annas the bill amount and he calls the man out of the restaurant. Hello everyone, I'm Babita Tamaya, lecturer, Department of English, Vidyashram Pre-University College, Mysuru. In my previous session, I had discussed about the poem, The Schoolboy. So what did the schoolboy love to do? He loved to wake up early in the morning and he used to enjoy the beauty of nature. Going to the school, he was not at all interested because sitting under the strict supervision of the teachers, he did not like it at all. So his creativity, he likes to learn amidst the nature, but it was not possible for him. So at last, when his parents wants him to flourish in his life, it is not possible with him because his dreams are scattered into pieces where he was not able to study amidst the nature. That was about the poem, The Schoolboy. In today's session, I'll be discussing about the chapter 4, that is Oru Manushyan. So when I say Oru Manushyan, you'll be wondering which language is it. So actually this chapter is translated from Malayalam to English. Oru Manushyan means a man. So this chapter, Oru Manushyan, is written by Vaikom Muhammad Bashir. Vaikom Muhammad Bashir is a well-known Malayalam story writer and a novelist. He is a well-known Malayalam story writer as well as a novelist. And he is known for his sympathetic portrayal of joys and sorrows of ordinary life. And he also translated his stories into English and various other Indian languages. So he was the recipient of the Central Sahitya Academy Award and he has received the Padma Shri Award in the year 1982. So let's see the background of the story. Now, what is the background of this Oru Manushyan? So when I say the background of the story, hear these words. Whatever the words is here on the screen, whatever the words you see on the screen, it is all about the author. Whatever the author felt, he himself says this. So let's see what is all about. You have no definite plans. You're wandering around far away from home. You have no money with you. You do not know the local language. You can speak English and Hindustani, but very few people know either of these languages. This can land you in many predicaments, many adventures can befall you. So what does the author says here? He says in his own words, you have no definite plans. There is no plans with you and you have walked away too many miles from your village and you have come to some other place where you don't know any local languages. But very few people can understand English and Hindustani. And whatever you speak, it is not able to understand by the people because their local language is not that. So very few people can understand English and Hindi. So this can, when you don't know the language, when you don't know the people, when you don't know the subject, anything over there, so what happens? You may land in many predicaments and many adventures. You have to face a lot of difficulties to understand and to move on with those people over there. So next, you find yourself caught in a dangerous situation. A total stranger rescues you. Even after years pass by, you will sometimes remember the man and wonder why he did so. The author says that one day he was caught in a dangerous situation. He had a very bad experience. He's just sharing that. So what was the dangerous experience? We will get to know when we'll discuss with the chapter. When he has moved to the place where he doesn't know the language nor the people and he is into the dangerous situation, what happens over there in the sense there will be no one to help him out to come out of that dangerous situation. Even after years by, you will sometimes remember he might have undergone with the situation many years ago, but even now he tries to remember that and he is scared of it because he just cannot forget the dangerous situation, what has happened in his life, and remember the man and wonder why he did so. So whatever the dangerous situation he had faced, because of whom? Because of a man, and is just thinking, why did that man do so with him? So let's begin the chapter here. This chapter is mainly based on the narrator, the author himself. Let us say it is I, not you, who remembers the man. So what is the author saying? He is not saying anything about the other people there. It is his own story. So let us say it is I. I is the author. He himself, his own experience is sharing now. It is I, not you. So he remembers the man. Now he's remembering the man, what has happened in his life. I'm narrating an experience which I had. I have some vague notions about human beings, including myself. So he is sharing his experience, what has happened in his life. What was the dangerous situation he was into. And he also says, have some vague notions that each and every human beings have. So each and every human beings have that an ego. And even he says it is not only with the human beings, it is even among myself also, including me, I have that vague notion. The world has more evil than good. We realize this only after we get hurt. See, what does it mean to say here in the sense? The world is surrounded with the evil people. So when do we get to know that there are people surrounded with evil? That is the cruel people. Only we go through with that experience, we'll get to know there are many cruel people in the world. I'm not saying everyone in the world, but there are most of the people who are very cruel and they will not come forward to help the people when they are in the dangerous situation. The same thing here the author is finding. Now he is into a dangerous situation and no one is around him to help him. He can find the cruel people everywhere, but none of them come forward to help. It was quite a big city in the valley of a mountain, some 1,500 miles from home. So now the author has walked 1,500 miles away from home. So he's not into his own town. He has left his town or the village and he has moved 1,500 miles away from his home. So after leaving the 1,500 miles, now he is into the dangerous situation where he doesn't know the local language except Hindustani and English. Murder, robbery, pickpocketing, these were daily occurrences. So what happened in that village? So the daily occurrence of the people of that village were murder, robbery, pickpocketing. These were the daily occurrences the people had in that village. By tradition, what were they? By tradition, they were the professional soldiers. Some of them went to distant places and let out money on interest. See here, some people, some of the people of that village, they are not from that village, they came from other place and they have settled down. So what did that people do? Some of that people who came from the distance place, they let out money on interest. Money on interest, it means to say that they gave the money for interest. They gave the money for other people and they collected the interest from those people. They have given the money for interest. And many served as watchmen in banks, mills and large commercial establishments in cities. Not only that, there were other people also who were working as a watchman in banks, mills and other commercial establishment, that is in big cities. I'm not talking about that village. It is in the big cities. They worked in mills, banks and commercial establishments. But by profession, they are the soldiers. The daily occurrence of these people were murder, robbery and pickpocketing. Money was highly valued by them. For what was the more importance for them there? They used to value money a lot. So the importance was given to money, nothing else there. For money, they would do anything, even commit a murder. So if they want money, they were ready to do anything, even to commit a murder, they were ready. So they gave more value was for the money, not for the people's life also. So what was more important for them? It is the money. For money, they would murder the people or they would kill the people. So now let's see about the author's profession. What was his profession? Because he has walked 1500 miles away from his hometown and he had to face lot of dangerous situation. And let's see, to earn his living, what was his profession? What was he doing to earn his living? I stayed in that city in a very small, dingy room on a dirty street. So where did he stay? He stayed in a very small, dingy room on a dirty street. Dingy room, it means to say that it was looking dirty. The room was looking dirty and the room was very small and it was in a dirty street. In that place, he lived, teaching English to some migrant laborers from 9:30 till 11 in the night. So what was his profession? How did he earn his living? He came from 1500 miles away and he started his profession by teaching English to the migrant laborers. Migrant laborers, that is one who move from one place to the another, migrating from one place to the another. For those people, he used to teach English. What he used to teach? He used to teach English to the migrant laborers from what time? From 9:30 till 11 at night. What was the profession of the author? The profession of the author was to teach English for the migrant laborers from 9:30 till 11 in the night. That is, in the midnight he was taking classes for the migrant laborers. Why he was taking classes there? I taught them to write addresses in English. What did he teach in English? He taught them to write the addresses. What did the migrant people learn from the author? They learned how to write the address in English. Learning to write an address in English was considered the great education there. So what was considered the great education there in that village? Here, the author has not mentioned it is which village or which town. He just says that it's a village or a town, but nothing, no name he has mentioned here in this chapter. So he says writing address in English was considered as the greatest education. Which was the most important education there? Writing address in English was considered as a great education. So, author started his profession by teaching English for the migrant laborers where they could write the address in English. You must have seen people who write address at the post office. They were paid anything between 1 anna and 4 annas for writing an address. So now it is not possible. In the olden days, you could have seen the people who were in the post office where they used to write the address in English. There were people kept there. There were people appointed in the post office only to write the address in English. And how much did they pay for the people who were writing address in English? They used to pay in between 1 anna and 4 annas for writing address. The people in the post office who write the address, for them they used to pay 1 anna and 4 anna. It's not 1 rupees or the 4 rupees. It is 1 anna or 4 annas they used to pay for the people who write the address in English in the post office. So, I thought the skill of writing address to people in order to escape the same fate myself and to see if I could save some money. So, why did he thought of this profession? If he is into this profession, he thought that he can save some money. Because when he came far away from the village, he did not have anything with him. So now he has started his earning and he wants to have some money as a saving. So what did he do? He started to teach the people writing address in English in order to escape some fate. So why? Why did he started it? So that he can escape some fate of himself to save some money. In those days, I would sleep all day and wake up at 4 in the evening only to save the expenses of drinking my morning tea or eating the noon meal. So, what was his fate? Why did he do so? Because he used to sleep from morning till evening every day. Every day from morning till evening he used to sleep and he used to wake up at 4 in the evening. At what time he used to wake up? He used to wake up at 4 in the evening. Why did he do so? What was the reason that he used to sleep from morning till evening? What made him to sleep? It is because he could save the expenses of drinking morning tea. So he did not want to spend the money. Instead of spending the money, he tried to save the money by sleeping from morning till evening 4 o'clock. 4 he wakes up. And why did he do so in the sense? Because he can save his expenses where without having a drink. How he can save the expenses? It means to say that he was not having his morning tea or eating the afternoon or the noon meal. He was not having his lunch nor the morning tea. So in this way, he was saving his money. So he was sleeping from morning till evening and he got up at 4 so that he can save some money. That was the intention of the author. So now, author's experience in a restaurant. What happened with author? What was the dangerous situation into? Now he's just explaining what was the situation he faced or what was his experience regarding that man whom he is still remembering now. One day I got up at 4 p.m. as usual. As usual, he wakes up at 4 p.m. in the evening. I finished my daily chores and stepped out for my tea and meal. So evening he wakes up at 4 o'clock, finish all his household work and he goes out for a tea and a meal. He is having his tea and a meal in the evening, not in the morning nor in the noon. You must understand that I was dressed in a suit. I had a wallet in my pocket. So when he went to a restaurant, how was he dressed? He was dressed with a suit. He was well dressed and he had a wallet in his coat pocket. So he has owned a suit. Inside that suit, there was a wallet kept. I had 14 rupees in it. My life savings at that time. So how many rupees was there in his wallet? He had 14 rupees. So that 14 rupees was his life savings at that time. That is at the olden days. So how many rupees he had in his wallet? He had 14 rupees and it was his life savings. So now in these days, with 14 rupees, you cannot even get a cup of coffee, if I'm not wrong. So in that olden days, 14 rupees was valued so much for the author. He says, I had 14 rupees as my life savings in my coat or in my wallet. He ate full meal consisting of chapatis and meat curry. I drank tea as well. The bill came to 11 annas. He wakes up at 4 o'clock in the evening. He goes out with a suit. He was well dressed with a suit and he had a wallet inside his pocket. With those things, he enters into the restaurant and once he entered into the restaurant, he ate meal consisted of chapatis and meat curry. What did he have? He had chapati with meat curry. Along with that, a cup of tea as well as tea he had. After having everything he is done, now he got the bill and the bill was 11 annas. So what was the amount he should pay for the restaurant keeper there? He need to pay 11 annas. When he got the bill, he has to pay 11 annas for having chapatis and meat curry with a cup of tea. Let's see what happened next with the author. I put my hand in my coat pocket to pay it. I began sweating and almost digested in an instant all that I had eaten. The reason was my wallet was not there. So, after eating chapati with meat curry with a cup of coffee, now he has to pay 11 annas. And he put hand to his coat pocket to take out the wallet to pay the amount. He started sweating. Why he's sweating now? Why he's shocked there? It's because he lost his wallet. When he puts his hand inside the pocket, he's not finding his wallet. So he starts to sweat. I began sweating and almost digested. He began to sweat and almost digested. What does it mean that almost digested? He just had his chapati and meal, and when he was about to pay the money, when he did not find his wallet, so whatever he had eaten, he felt that everything started digesting. Because he was into that situation where the people will not believe that because he is well dressed. He's well dressed with a suit, and now he goes and says that I don't have money, I have lost my wallet, what will the people think? So he was scared and he started to sweat, and he felt that everything, whatever he has eaten, it has digested by now. All that I had eaten. The reason was my wallet was not there. So what was not there in his pocket? His wallet was not there. I said, someone has picked my pocket and taken away my wallet. He's telling the restaurant keeper that I lost my wallet. Someone has taken it out. It was a very busy restaurant. The owner gave a loud guffaw, startling everyone around. He caught me by the lapels of my coat and shaking me, cried, "This trick won't work here. Put the money down and go, or else I will gouge your eyes out." So you just imagine yourself, you'll go into a busy restaurant, have your meal or have your food or a dinner, and when you're about to pay the bill, so you will be not having your wallet, or you might have missed your wallet. So how do you feel? You'll feel embarrassed, right? It is an humiliation for each and everyone. But right now in this generation, if it is so, there are many ways where you can pay the bill. The so-called internet. We can pay through Google Pay, we have Phone Pay, we have Amazon Pay, lot many things we have where we can send the money and pay the bill, but not in those days. So now what happens with him? The restaurant where he entered and he had chapatis and meat curry, and that restaurant was a busy restaurant. He goes to the restaurant owner and he says, I lost my wallet. I don't find my wallet. Someone has taken it. So what does the restaurant keeper do or the owner do? The owner gave a loud guffaw, startling everyone around. So the owner gave a loud guffaw in the sense the owner laughed loud, and all the people who were seated in the restaurant started to see that man or see the author. Why this owner is laughing so loudly? What is the reason behind it? So he caught me by the lapels of my coat and shaking me cried, "This trick won't work here." So what is the owner doing? He's just holding the coat collar and is shaking him and saying, all this trick. The owner thought it is the trick. He is playing some game. All this trick will not work. So the thing is that you need to pay the bill right now, or else I'll gouge your eyes out. Gouge your eyes out in the sense I will pull your eyes out. I'll pull your eyes out. That's what the restaurant owner says. What you have to do now, you need to pay the bill or else I'll gouge your eyes. I looked at the people around me. I did not see even one kind face. They had the look of hungry wolves. So the people who were seated in the restaurant, He just saw the people around him, but none of the people came forward to help him. They did not show any pity towards the author, or none of them seemed to be very kind. The people who were sitting in that restaurant, they were looking at the author like a hungry wolves, as if they have not eaten anything. They were about to come and eat. They were looking like that. But none of the people around the restaurant had a kind face to come and help the author. So the scene of embarrassment. So now it is a scene, or now it is the humiliation what the author faced in the restaurant. What did the owner do when he said that he don't have money to pay? He has lost his wallet. And the owner says, you cannot play the trick like this with me. And he laughs loudly and he says, if you don't pay the amount, or if you don't pay the bill, I'm going to gouge your eyes out. And there was no people around him with a kind face to help him out. So what is the embarrassment, or what is the humiliation is facing now? He asked me to take off my coat. Who is asking here? The restaurant owner. He is asking the author to take off. Take off in the sense to remove his coat. I took off my coat. The author is following the instruction which was given by the owner. So when he asked him to take off his coat, he has taken it out. He asked me to take off my shirt. I took off my shirt. First he asked him to take out the coat. He took. Next it is shirt. He removed his shirt also. He asked me to take off both my shoes. The owner asked him to remove his shoes, and the author removed the shoes also. Finally, he asked me to take off my trousers. So what was the final thing? It was about his trousers. Asked to take off the coat, he removed. Asked to take off his shirt, he removed. Asked to remove his shoes, he did that. At last, finally, what was left? Finally, he was asked to remove his trousers. So here, the author is under the humiliation. When the people around there in the restaurant and he is asked to remove each and everything, he is into the humiliation. It is not possible for any individual to take it up. He is ashamed of himself now because his coat is removed, shirt is removed, shoes is removed. At last now it's the trouser. So what happens next? Join the herd. So why did I say join the herd? Who came? Anyone came to help him, or what happened? Let's see here. So the idea seemed to be to stripe me, gouge out my eyes and send me out naked. I said, I have nothing on underneath. Everyone laughed. The restaurant keeper said, I doubt it. You must be something on underneath. Everyone laughed. So what is the thing? Why everyone joined there? So what was the idea here? The author is thinking, what was the idea? Now the keeper would strip me out. It means to say that he might ask me to remove my clothes and he might send me out without the clothes. He might make me naked. That is what he's feeling, because shoes is removed, coat is removed, shirt is removed. Now at last it's about the trousers. He is feeling uncomfortable in front of everyone. He is into an embarrassment situation. And what does he say at that time? He said, I don't have anything underneath. So when he says this, the people around the restaurant who were seated, they started to laugh. They were laughing loudly, but none were ready to help the author. The restaurant keeper said, when he say, I don't have anything underneath, he says, I doubt something might be there on the underneath. It is not possible for you to say there is nothing underneath. So when he says that, the people started laughing. So he is into such a situation where he's not able to face the people around there, and he himself into a humiliation or into a dangerous situation. So he's just thinking, what would happen with me right now where I have lost my wallet, I'm not able to pay the bill, and No one is coming out to help me out. So what shall I do next? How to come out of this problem? My hands refuse to move. So the author and is refused to move. Refused to move in the sense he is refusing. He is standing back himself to remove the trousers because it's a busy restaurant. People are seated. It's not so very easy to remove the trousers. He says his hands is not moving forward to remove the trouser. I saw in my imagination a man standing in the crowd, stark naked and without his eyes. Life was going to end like that. Let it end. And for all this, I never mind. O Creator of the world, my God, I had nothing to say. Everything would end. Everything would end to the satisfaction of all. So what does these lines means here? Why does the author says this? What is he thinking about now? So now the author is into the imagination. What was the author's imagination? I saw my imagination in a man standing in the crowd. So he's just imagining a man who is standing around a crowd and stark naked. Standing how? Without clothes. He is stripped out everything. It is just an imagination of the author. Standing in a crowd with no clothes, he stripped everything and without his eyes. Without clothes and without eyes. Eyes in this because why does he imagine in this way? Because the owner already told, I know this is a trick you're playing. I don't want all this trick to be played. If you don't pay the bill, I'm going to gouge your eyes. By thinking of all this, he is imagining now a man is standing in a crowd without clothes, he stripped everything and without the eyes. He don't even have the eyes to see. That's what the owner meant to say, I'll gouge your eyes. So thinking of all this or imagining all this, what happened? Life was going to end like that. What he felt? My life is ended. I don't feel like living anymore. My life came to an end. So let it end, let it end. This is how the God wanted me to end my life. So the God is a creator. Once he has created, we also say that the God created and he knows when we die. So the God has created. Now it's God's turn to take me out. So I'm almost dead. My life came to an end. There is no reason to live anymore. O Creator of the world, my God, I had nothing to say. Now the author, he don't have anything to say because he couldn't pay the amount and he has lost his wallet. Everything would end. He says everything would end. It has come to an end. No one is ready to help me also. Everything would end to the satisfaction of all. So the people around the restaurant all were seated there. They were just seeing the author, what was happening with him, but no kind face was there to help the author. And he says, my life has come to an end. It's going to end. It is the satisfaction of all. So when he thought that his life is going to end, no one is there ready to help him. What happens? Guardian angel. So when he was about to remove his trouser, what happened here? There stood a fair, complex man, 6 foot tall with red turban and white trousers. He sported handlebar mustache and had blue eyes. So when he was about to remove the trousers, when the author was about to remove his trousers, a man asked to stop him. So who was the man there? A man with fair complexed. He had a fair complexion and 6 foot tall. What was his height? He was 6 foot tall and he had on a red turban and white trousers. He had a spotted handlebar mustache. The mustache was like a line and he had a blue eyes. Blue eyes was very common in that village. So a stranger has entered and asked the author to stop it, not to remove his trousers. Stop. He says stops, and you can see the man who has entered, that is a stranger who enters into the restaurant. Now, who is the stranger? Why did he come to help him? From where did he come now? He came forward and asked the restaurant keeper, how much did you say it was? 11 annas. So here the stranger came forward and asked the restaurant keeper that how much did the man have to pay? What is the bill all about? So the keeper says it is 11 annas. You need to pay 11 annas. Come, he called me. I went with him. Did I have words to express my gratitude? I told him, you have done a great deed. I have not seen a finer man. So a stranger who came, he paid 11 annas, the bill amount, and he calls the man out of the restaurant. He says that, come, we will go out of the restaurant. So the man will be very happy because there was no one in the restaurant to help him. Everyone laughed at him and they were staring at him like a hungry wolf. And he expresses, the man is expressing his gratitude towards the stranger who has helped him by paying 11 annas. I told him, you have done a great deed. So the author told, you have done a good job. You have helped me from those people. I have not seen a finer man. I didn't see any other kind face over there in the restaurant except you. What's your name? He asked. I told my name and where I came from. So now the stranger is asking, what is your name? So the author says his name and he also says that from where he had come from which village he had come, from which place, all those things the author will say to the stranger. I asked the man his name. He said, I have no name. So now the author is asking the stranger, what is your name? Do the stranger answer here? Yes. What does he say that? He says that he have no name. He has no name. He don't have any name. The stranger says, I don't have any name. So what does the author says? Mercy. Why does he says mercy here? I said, in that case, mercy must be your name. He did not laugh at that. He walked on until we reached a deserted bridge. So when the author asked the stranger what was his name, he said that he don't have any name. So the author himself says that if so, then your name would be Mercy. It might be Mercy. When he told Mercy, there was no response from the stranger. He didn't even laugh. He just walked out until they reached a deserted bridge. He didn't even utter a word. He just walked. Look, you must go away without turning around. If anyone asks you whether you have seen me, you must say no. So what is the stranger saying to the author here? Look, you must go away without turning around. They have come and reached towards the deserted bridge. After that, the stranger is saying to the man, you'll not turn around. Without turning, you will go back from this place. And if anyone asks you whether have you seen me, you should say that you have not seen me. You'll just say that you have not seen me. Why does he say so? He took out from his various pockets about 5 wallets. 5 wallets among them was mine. So what is the stranger doing? He took him to the deserted bridge and he says, you will walk out without turning around. And if anyone asks about me, you will say that you don't know that stranger. And before the man leaves, the stranger is taking out how many wallets? He takes out about 5 wallets from his pocket, and among them he takes out and he gives or shows it to the man. Among these 5 wallets, which is your wallet? So which of these is yours? The stranger is asking the author, which wallet is yours among the 5? I pointed to my wallet. Author pointed to his wallet and the man asked to, or the stranger asked to open it. So now the author is opening his wallet and seeing, and it was exactly his wallet, and it was his wallet, the author's wallet, and he put into his pocket. Who put? The author put his wallet into his coat pocket. He told me, "Go, may God help you." I repeated, "May God help you." He gave the wallet, the stranger gave the wallet, and the author opened it and saw, because there was 14 rupees which he had saved. It was his life savings. By looking into that 14 rupees, he says, "This is my wallet," and he keeps inside his coat pocket. After taking and keeping it, the stranger says, the author, "May God help you." The stranger says, "Let the God help you." What does the man reply, or the author reply? The author replied the same thing, "May God help you also." So this was the situation what the author faced in that busy restaurant. This was his own experience, what has happened when he reached from one village to the other village, where he did not know the local language except Hindi and Hindustani. Hindustani is the Hindi language. So all the people in that village were never knew about Hindustani or English. They know only the local language. In this situation, the author had to face a lot of dangerous problem where he lost his wallet. None of the people came to help him, and the restaurant owner asked to remove his shoes, shirt, trouser, everything. Later, they were about to strip him out. They were about to make him naked in front of everyone. This was the humiliation or the embarrassment that the author faced. Later on, a stranger helped him out by paying 11 annas, and the stranger himself was a pickpocketer. So he himself has taken out 5 wallets, and among them one was the stranger. So at last the stranger got to know what happens if the robbery has happened, if they pickpocket, what kind of problem the person will face. He just regretted himself, and he came forward to help the author by paying 11 annas, as well as he written his wallet. This is about the story Oru Manushyan. Moving forward, it's about the glossary. So whatever the glossaries you have here, it is nothing out of your text. Please refer your textbook for these glossaries. From this chapter, the weightage of this chapter is for 5 marks. You can expect one 1-mark question and one 4-mark question. So put together, the weightage is for 5 marks. So I'll be back with another session, that is Money Madness. Until then, take care. Bye-bye. Thank you.